Hi everyone, it's Professor Snart checking in here as we continue our work in our group project. Just going to jump into our due dates here. So it's actually Tuesday morning as I'm recording this, October 22nd. Blackboard is being super slow today. Must be the weather. So we have basically formed our groups. I've framed out some spaces for you to start brainstorming and working in. We have this kind of like checkpoint here where you, as a group, are posting a link to materials you've developed so far. We understand that things aren't done yet. We have this reply component that's obviously really important here. People providing some feedback, input to the ongoing project, and then making sure that your group has a good plan for the timeline moving forward to be able to submit the thing in Unit 8 here. So we can jump into the individual units just to take a look at the pieces. But there's really not a lot going on the instructional side. It's mostly, you doing the work within your group. So we've kind of looked at this stuff before. The assignment itself, obviously good to review that. The initial planning space for various groups, making sure that you've put a link in to whatever type of thing you've decided to build as a group. And then I wouldn't say the major work, but the important thing that you're doing here is one person in the group posting the URL to whatever project sort of platform that the group has decided on. We know it's a work in progress at this point. It's okay. Every student then will reply to at least 2 other projects, clearly not your own, providing a mixture of maybe feedback, input, depending on how much is built out. If you as a group feel like you really need some input or some direction, or are you have a couple of ideas and you can't quite choose, make sure that you say that in the post so you're sort of directing people with particular questions or the type of input that you want. And then when you're doing replies on the tail end of it, make sure that you read that and sort of respond in a way that the groups might have directed or that they're looking for. If the group directed at all, you don't necessarily have to do that, but especially if you really are looking for a particular type of input or feedback, go ahead and say that here. So again, we know that things aren't finished, but there should be something fairly substantial here. The purpose of the discussion board is really to get that feedback, but also to keep the groups on track, like knowing that you have this kind of internal deadline where you have to have built out at least something, otherwise you're not getting feedback on anything. And so that takes us through these due dates. So this Wednesday, October 23rd, replies by the 25th, and then we turn around to finish up things for Unit 8. Noticing that there's no reply date, and we'll look at that real quick here too. So again, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is really just you collaborating with your group, probably moving out of that planning space and into whatever like actual format you're in, and using whatever communication tool or tools that you've decided on as a group, whether it's email or text or some app or whatever it happens to be. And now we have the finishing up, right, the project. So there is just that one due date for Unit 8. Each group member is going to return to your portfolio, his or her portfolio, build out a new page for the group project, and then link, embed, like provide access to whatever the thing is. So everyone's going to do this, even though as a group you're going to be linking out to that same finished project. Each person will do this individually then, a couple of paragraphs outlining like what you did, how you think it turned out, just sort of your overall experience doing it. Make sure you publish your page as usual. Make sure that whatever material or thing that your final project has become, it's shared correctly. So when you embed it on your portfolio pages, it actually shows up correctly. I literally made this mistake myself the other day. I know it's easy to do. I was building a website. I had some documents built in there. I was luckily not presenting it to this big group of people, but just sort of pre-presenting it to a few folks, a few of my colleagues. And I hadn't shared the docs correctly, so lo and behold, I'm in a different room showing off my website, and a couple of the docs didn't show. Easy enough to fix, but I know, an easy mistake to make, even though we're all kind of aware of making making sure we've done things correctly. No reply component here, so you're really just focused on finishing up the group project and posting it and building out your portfolio. What we'll do, and this is getting way ahead of the game here, up in Unit 9, we're going to do a different kind of follow-up project here, or follow-up response, reply mode. So I am going to, hopefully, it's a little tricky to do depending on what form the projects take, I'm going to post all the finished projects to this little Padlet space here. I'll explain all about what this is and how we're going to use it. And then we're going to do a little bit of a mobile response rather than just like sitting down to type at the computer to do a discussion board again. So there is kind of a reply component built in to the whole project. There will be opportunity for others in the class to visit your finished project, so it's not just going to like come to me and then that'll be the end of it. But we're doing it a little bit differently. You can always jump into Unit 9 here and read through the details, but I'll go a little bit deeper into it as we get closer. Okay, so be in touch with me, especially if you have questions or concerns. Make sure that you're posting a good draft by Unit 7, keeping the group on track for Unit 8. Really be conscious, even as you divide labor like a normal group would do, that everybody is looking at everybody else's work, that you're really working collaboratively, and it feels at the end of it like a whole collaborative project, not just these separate pieces glued together that don't really like cohere or really sort of like speak to one another. Okay, so again, be in touch if you have any questions, concerns. Hopefully, even though you're in the midst of it and maybe it's a little anxiety producing, that you are kind of enjoying what I think is sort of the unique experience of doing a group project, but in a fully online class. It gets you working with your classmates really directly, hopefully getting to know people a little bit better, at least the few people that are in your group, and again, producing something that you will be proud of to share out to the class as a whole once it's all said and done. All right, so I will check in with everybody in a little while. Again, questions, concerns, be in touch with me, but I'll talk with everybody pretty soon.